I'm always putting words in Sergey's mouth. It's good people not relax.
So, okay, Ed, did you have a follow-up question on that?
No, I don't have a follow-up question.
So I have a question. Okay, first of all, does anybody else have a question? Jason, anybody? Sergey? No? Okay. So why publish it as a library? I mean, what kind of drove you to do that?
Well, mostly because of that same perfectionistic side of me. I don't like to write something that I write and then I can't reuse it because I've maybe taken shortcuts to assume that it's always going to be the same game. So like everything I write, I turn into a library basically. Like if I need A-star pathfinding for a tower defense game, which I recently needed, then I'll write the whole thing, but then I'll turn it into a completely packaged library, and I won't ever release it, but there it is as a library. Just because I don't like the feeling of writing something that I can't then, that I know isn't quite perfect because it's specifically for this. You know what I mean?
Sure, yeah. Yeah, we've heard that from Ed a lot, you know.
Hey, you get the lazy programmer badge. Doesn't like to do the same thing twice. I hear it. That's a good thing.
Lazy programmer badge. I think we need to make that
bad,
up.
but I call myself the lazy programmer, so.
Well, it's a matter of not wanting to do things more than once. You know, you spent the time and energy, effort to figure it out that one time, and you want to be able to reuse it. It's the you know, kind of the holy grail of software.
Yeah.
Yeah, so why not? Okay, and the reason I asked that is because both you and Ed have said you don't want to give up control, or at least Ed said he doesn't want to give up control over the library, and he makes it publicly available to people so that they can access it, but yet then doesn't make it available for people to make changes. And some people, the sole reason that they make it a public project like that is so they can get other people's help.
Yeah.
Okay, you're not driving, are you, Jason?
No, I think he just dropped us in the
narrow dashboard. I'm being lazy. I'm like precariously perching this thing on the dashboard.
Okay.
The very slopey dashboard. Sorry about that.
That's funny. All right.
The conversation was going so well till we got derailed on Jason's dashboard.
That's all right. That's all right. It's like it's we call that reality TV. So, is there anything in CBEffects that you'd like that doesn't exist today that you'd like to add?
Well, I've always, I don't know that I'll have time for it, but I've always really wanted to add a visual editor because a lot of people, they do things visually like that. I mean, I'm happy just to code everything, but it was back when it was on the other code, whatever you call that, code sharing place, a lot of people kept asking for a visual editor. So that's just kind of floating around in the cloud of things I'd like to do someday, but yeah.
If let's say that you could get the monetization part worked out, right? You could get people actually paying for some level of service or some level of access or just whatever, right? Just maybe they just want to fund the project. Would you ever consider doing that kind of development where you spent dedicated time to creating something like that?
Probably, yeah.
Okay, yeah. I mean, because that's the one thing that comes back around for most developers is they have plenty of a desire to do it, but there's other things that have their attention, and if they could get like what's the Ed, help me out here. What's the editor that does you can break your character up into little pieces?
Yeah, Spine.
Spine. Those guys. They wanted an editor, visual editor that they could use to do 2D animation, and they ran a Kickstarter project or one of those, Indiegogo or Kickstarter, one of the two. And once they had all the funds for it, they went to town. I mean, they hammered out a bunch of different platforms.
Is that how it began? Did it begin as an in-house tool for a game they were working on, or?
I'd have to go back. I don't remember if they had maybe like a core base of stuff. But I know when they started adding support for other platforms, for sure, that they went out and and raised funds for it, and then said, hey, when we get to this, if we raise this much money, we'll support this platform. If we have that, that much money, we'll support that platform. And yeah, it just seems like a great way to, if people are, it seems like a great way to feel out the market and see if people are willing to pay for it, and if they are, then yeah, it's a ready-made market. So anyway, okay, and so a visual editor, and then so any other future plans for CBEffects? Any kind of like tidbits that you're working on now?
Not really. Mostly just keeping it current and yeah.
Just maintenance, in kind of a maintenance mode right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's now like it's at the highest point it'll get without adding some new drastic feature. I mean, you can make basically whatever you want to make with it. It's easy to use. It fulfills all the goals that I had for it. So now it's just keeping it like that.
Yeah. Well, what were in the beginning? What were your goals?
Well, in the beginning, I was just wanting something that I could use to make every particle effect I've ever wanted with. I mean, because actually it started out because I thought it looked cool, but that's basically what it's turned into.
Would it be fair to say it started out more like a toy? In the sense that you were playing around with the idea and just experimenting?
Pretty much, yes.
That's not my advice, but advice I've read and been given is to start with the toy and then work from there.
Well, it seems like all great stories kind of start out that way, right? We built it for ourselves, or it was something that we needed, those types of things, and then out of that comes something that's actually usable. And then once it gets out into the general population, you find out that, oh, it's just not just me. Everybody has that same issue. And that's where those types of things seem to blow up, take off. Interesting. Okay.
So I want to recap a couple of points and ask you a question. So you started off with basically zero programming knowledge, right? I mean, you came in here and you said, I've been drag and dropping, which didn't give me a real basis for knowing anything about a language, syntax, globals, locals. You picked up Lua. Did you have any prior background? I mean, at the age of 12,
13.
you would have had no formal education in physics or any of geometry. I mean, I don't know what level, the Wayback Machine for me, so it's hard to remember, but geometry, trigonometry, none of that, right?
None of that.
So basically, you had to come in here, you learned Lua, you learned a little bit of vector math, you learned a little bit about trigonometry and sines and cosines and all kinds of good stuff like that. Probably not too deep, but enough to get rolling to figure out the motions of your particles. Wow, that's amazing to me. Zero background education.
So for all those people who say I can't do it or that's hard, suck it up.
I'm just gonna say, it's just in a word. I'm just gonna say, Caleb, just